Nations, B'nai Noach Connection to Israel, with Israel. And this is Peasach Sherbo from Sfat, Israel. Today, right now, is the 19th of December. Wow. 19th of December, 3:09 in the morning. We're getting started a little late. Thank you for being with us. Terry Hayes is here from Tennessee, co-host. And we thank everybody for being here. We are, we're coming up to Hanukkah, by the way, starting very shortly. We'll talk a little bit about that tonight. It's a fun holiday. It's a fun holiday. I want to keep you guys posted on what we're doing. There is a place in Jerusalem that has been working with Noahides for a lot of years, and they've got some distinguished rabbis working with them. And we're looks like we're headed for certification with them, and also some of the people that are connected to Work for the Nations are going to be certified as teachers, and also we're going to have the ability through them, through Zoom too, that anybody that wants to actually declare and have signed a signed statement from Israel that you are and have taken on the yoke of being a Noahide, you'll be able to make your statement, declare your statement, get it all signed and sealed by respected rabbis here in the country, and authorized rabbis too. They have authorization from the head rabbi of Israel and from the head of the government and all kinds of, we'll get into it. I'm really excited about it. The second or third week of January, I'll be at a meeting with everybody, and we're gonna really be able to go forward and bring some cohesion, bring some oneness together with Noahides themselves, and in the teachings and the things that they're going to be bringing forth out of Jerusalem, instructions on how to set up your a bet din, so because you have to have some kind of authority for people to go to. They're shooting for hopefully next year to have a big conference in America, and which I'm going to be talking about with some other folks, and bring some rabbis from Israel to meet you all and talk to everybody, and real excited about it. Actually, just it's going to be. They are too. Things are just moving forward, and we feel the forward movement actually has an energy to it that only God can put there, only Hashem can put there. And every time we get together and talk about it, there's excitement about it, to see what's going on with the world and how the world is changing. They already have groups in, they have groups in Philippines, they have groups in Eastern Europe. They even have 2 groups in Africa that are doing it. They've set up teachings in about 7 different languages right now, and they're starting to hold Zoom meetings with people all over the world, teaching meetings for those who don't have local teachers and local people to help them out. And they're also, and of course this is one of my goals, is to get, I apologize, to get local rabbis interested in this, because one of the problems is when a Noahide walks into an Orthodox place, there's a little bit of standoffness. But if you go into a Reformed, they'll welcome you. Most of them will say, "Hey, welcome, come on in." But you're going to find that all the rabbis that I deal with and you're going to be working with are Orthodox rabbis that want you to know and understand the truth and of the oneness of God and how He expects us all to follow his Torah.
He doesn't feel good. God,
Pardon?
please help that Peasach sure both. Please help him.
Anyway, we're putting it together. We're looking for people to. We're looking for the oneness. Okay. You know, the Jews are a oneness, even though you see all different levels and stratas, and you have people that are more learned and less learned, and you have people that follow more, that do more mitzvot, and those that do less mitzvot. But the thing about it is, we all have to do the 7. We all have to do the 7. So the teachers are going to be coming to help show people how to do the 7. And they're coming out with they call it Shulchan Aruch, one of the, like Moshe Weiner's book, Divine Code. But if Divine Code is it's deep reading, as far as I consider it deep reading. It's a good information book. It tells you how you can handle things in certain ways. But what they're going to, hopefully it'll hit Amazon within the next 6 weeks. The holdup on it is that a Jewish book doesn't get published, especially one like this, without letters of approbation, we call it. It's sent out to masters and people that are masters in what we're trying to teach and what the book's about. They read it, and then they give you a thumbs up or thumbs down on the book. We want people to know that, and they're trying to gather as many as possible, and we want good, high. You know, everything's rankings. You have rabbis here, you got rabbis up here, you got leaders of whole groups up here. Those are the people we're looking for the approbations, the recommendations from. We got all but about 3, which will be it. I say we. I'm talking like I'm already part of the group, and we're part of the group. But it looks pretty good that everything's just going to get the okay, and we can just roll right on with it. So I'm excited because it gives a cohesiveness. Is that a word? It gives a cohesiveness to what you guys are doing, and it gives you a place to say, "Oh, I'm not alone, man. I got people all over the United States. I got people in South America. I got same people in Philippines, same people in Africa, and everything." Go ahead, Richard. Your mic. Unmute your mic.
There we go. I want to tell you we're never alone. Hashem is right here with us all the time. Even if the next Noahide is 3 states over, you're not alone. Hashem is with you.
Amen. And we all know that, but it's a lonely trip when you're out in the middle of nowhere, and the only people you know are your family and a bunch of people you used to go to church with, and you step out the door of that, and all of a sudden you find, hey, where'd everybody go? You know, they just run away from you, kind of. And while I'm talking on that, since this is coming up to, this is the season, as a Jewish person and growing up in an area I lived and went through junior high school, elementary school, in a big area where there weren't very many Jews. We were the first Jewish family to move into this particular area in Maryland called Silver Spring. Now the whole thing is Israeli and Jewish, but when we moved in, I was the Lone Ranger. And do not take offense if people telling you Merry Christmas, or people send you Christmas cards, or, you know, all that kind of stuff. It's just not a part of you anymore. You have to make sure it doesn't trigger some negative emotion in you. My whole
I
life.
like to, I tell people if they say Merry Christmas to them, I'll say Happy Holidays and occasionally Happy Hanukkah.
That's good. That's good. But what I usually tell people is enjoy your holiday. Enjoy your holiday. That way it doesn't put anything in there it lets them know it's their holiday, not mine, but I want you to enjoy it. So that it doesn't put anything else into the conversation. So you might try that. I found growing up it worked well for me. And I know some people get upset. They tell their family, well, I'm not a Christian anymore. Why do you send me Christmas cards, all that kind of stuff? I get Christmas cards from people. So what? It's no big deal. That's their thing. Makes them feel good. More power to them. Whenever you let something push a button in you, there's a reason it pushes the button. And this particular thing, you just got to not let it push any buttons anymore. Just let it go away. Now, if you have grandkids and you have kids, it's a good teaching time, especially with grandkids, because they're not around you all the time, to teach them the truth about the matter. Wow. The point is, God, everything that we do, all the learning, every mitzvah we do, everything that we do, God tells us we're supposed to do it with joy. We're supposed to be happy. He created us to be happy. He gave us everything. He gave us life. He gives us the clothes on our back. He gives us every single thing. Why? Why does someone do that for their child? So their child will be happy. So he wants us to go through this life, which is simply one stage of life altogether, because we move on. And he just wants us to enjoy the life and help other people and help them enjoy the life. So when you feel like something's going to aggravate you or something's going to upset you, you got to say, oh, wait a minute. I'm not supposed to get upset or aggravated. I'm supposed to enjoy what's going on. And what gets upset or aggravated, we call it the Sitra Achra, the other side. We call it the Yetzer Hara, the one that produces bad in us. I heard a rabbi call that, he said today, he says, that's all fake news. Anything you hear from that side of yourself is fake. It's not real. It's just trying to knock you off track. And so why even pay attention to it? If in your head you come up with something you're supposed to do, and it is opposite of what you know you're supposed to do, or even it's a little off track, you just say, okay, well, and let it go. And it's tough sometimes. It's really tough sometimes to do it, because that's who we are. We're human beings. And God gave us an ego, which is probably the toughest and biggest thing we have that he gave us. The ego is anything that upsets us or makes us angry, anything like that. That means our ego has been bruised. It's a reaction of our ego, which is a heart reaction, by the way. The heart is very quick to react to things. Anger, jealousy, love, whatever, you name it. The heart produces all these things, but as it produces it, it has to go into our heads. And the mind is there to say, whoa, wait a minute, where's this coming from? Why is this happening? The mind could say, the heart could say, I'm angry at this guy, and you feel like, okie dokie, I'm going to go over there and bop him one. And then the mind's supposed to say, what, are you crazy? What for? What difference does it make to you what he thinks or says? Oh, man, but he just called me. I'm going to do it. And that's the ego saying, yeah, he can't do that to me. He can't do that. I'm going to get even. That's the ego. That's the what we call the other side of us, the wrong side of us, the sitra achra, that which produces evil, yetzer hara. And let me tell you, everybody's got it. And it's, if you have something in you that produces good, you're going to have that which produces not good also. There's always an opposite, there's always a balance. And you're the one that has to give it the balance. We have to learn how to walk down the middle road, the middle of the road between this and between that. That's why I love the Tanya, because it's a book that helps you do that. And there's a book, of course, I'm a little prejudiced because some friends of mine did it, and they did translations and everything, called GPS for the Soul. It talks about Tanya and what the whole ideas are. The very first chapter of the book is a little tough to get through because it lays everything out exactly what you're going to learn, and then the rest of the book is just learning all those things, which is really good. And we just had what we call the Hasidic New Year on the 17th of this Jewish month, a couple of days ago, 2 days ago, this is when the Baal Shem Tov and the second Rebbe, this is when it was set up all the teachings and the writings of the Tanya and everything. And we are Hasidic. You guys are Hasidic. What does that mean? Before the Baal Shem Tov started his work, the Jewish people were divided into two groups. You had the scholars and the prayers, the ones that prayed and learned and everything else. And they had their synagogues. And you had the everyday Jew who didn't study so much, and he was just, a farmer or a bookmaker, whatever he was. And they didn't mix. The studiers they felt aloof. But this was a time all across Europe that this is the way it was. People weren't even allowed to learn to read. Of course, the Jews taught it in our schools anyway, even though it was against the law. And the Baal Shem Tov taught everybody, wait a minute, we're all one unit. We're all part of the one. That means you go study, you want to study, it doesn't make you any better than the guy out in the field plowing his field and saying his prayers out in the field. And there started a huge schism in amongst the Jews. So much so, the first Chabadnik guys, the first rabbis of the Chabad, were accused by the others. They were turned into the Russian government as traitors. They're preaching against the state, and this and that and the other thing. And some of them got locked up, and the stories are absolutely amazing when you read them. And some of their synagogues were shut down, and others, anyway, they made it through. The whole point is, you guys, along with Chabad and also Breslavers and the other people, we're called Hasidim. We're the people that say everybody comes together, everybody's equal, everybody, we treat everybody equal. And you guys are the same way. Noahides are Hasidim. You're not above anybody because you're a Noahide. You're not above anybody because you have a closer relationship with God. Everybody's equal, and part of your job, like our job, is to let the light inside of us shine out to the people around us. That means I was driving, I can only use personal examples, but I was driving down, Spot's a little town, and we have a main street. And I haven't driven down Main Street in a while, but Spot's the kind of place where you go outside, you want to go run a 15-minute errand, it takes you 2.5 hours because you have to stop and talk to everybody. Everybody wants, it is 35,000 people here, but still, it seems like everybody knows everybody. Anyway, I was driving down Main Street. Our Main Street is a one-way, one-lane street, and I hadn't been driven up there, and I wanted to go to the post office. As I'm driving, you can't drive very fast because people are walking all over. You're like driving down the middle of a mall or something. And people kept coming up to the car and said, "Hey, where you been? How you doing?" And they talk for a minute or two, but when you get 8 or 9 people talking to you as you're driving up the street, it's like you're sitting there blocking up all the traffic. But everybody does it. That's the way it is. But I had a guy come over, and he said to me, he says, "I haven't seen you in a while." He says, "You know what I love? I always love to see you because you're smiling all the time. I love your smile." This is what you want people to do. You have to project this feeling. You have to project what God has put inside of you. The joy of walking with him and the joy of life and the joy of everything has to be projected out. And some people are shy and they don't want to do it, or you look around next thing in a grocery store, how many people are actually smiling in a grocery store? You don't see very many of them. But that's our job. We're supposed to be bring joy to the world. When I walk anywhere, I always say hello to everybody. I say shalom. We have a phrase, shalom aleichem, peace be on you. And I always make sure that I say it before anybody else says it. That's who I am. And you can walk by somebody, like when I come out of the Bet Knesset, the meeting, it was a prayer, the shul, every morning I get out about the same time, quarter to 8, something like that. And I'm walking back down to my house, and there's another guy walking out of his place, evidently. And I say to him every morning, I give him a smile, say hello, and every morning he just walks on by. Just walks on by. Doesn't say nothing. Yesterday, he gave me a smile and said shalom back. And this morning, we actually talked a little bit. This is how we're supposed to affect people around us. I mean, you got people you run into, every time you run into them, it's like, uh-oh, the grouch factory's here. But you don't have to talk to them about being a grouch factory, but you can show them, give them some of what you have inside of you. And whether they know it or not, they're going to be drinking it. They're going to be getting it. There's a huge thing on how to rebuke someone. The whole key to rebuking someone, some religions have it down pat. You're going to hell. Being a Jew, you're not allowed to rebuke somebody unless you are their friend. In other words, if you try to rebuke somebody that they don't feel like you're their friend, they're going to reject it anyway. They're just going to think of you weird or something. But when you need to rebuke somebody, if you would first, even if it's something they do every day, they have to feel that you have an interest in them. And you do the rebuke in a way that they'll accept it. If they don't accept your rebuke, in other words, if you come to them and say you're doing such and such wrong or whatever, if they don't listen to you, it's not their fault, it's yours. That's what the sages teach. You have to be the one that projects from deep down inside of you that you really care for this other person. And I'm going to tell you, there are people, and I know very well, everyone has these people in their lives. If they walk up and start talking to you, you just want to run away. You don't even want to talk to the people. And we have to work hard to get that feeling away from us. That we don't feel that way when somebody comes in the room or someone this or someone, We invited some people for this coming Friday night, and we heard, sure heard from inadvertently, in other words, he was just sitting having coffee with somebody and they said, well, you're going to have those two people in the same room. That ain't going to happen. You know, so she didn't know what to do. So I said, don't do anything. When they show up, when they see each other, one of two things are going to happen. They're going to sit down beside each other, or one of them is going to leave. And if they don't want to be in our house because somebody else is here, that's their problem, not ours. So I've seen it work before, where with people inadvertently not knowing that people didn't want to talk to somebody, they end up by the end of the evening on a Friday evening, everybody's friends again. It just works out that way. So I don't know why. But anyway, we're excited about the movement. We're excited about the going forward. We're excited about you guys getting more and more involved. And Chrissy, we're going to get you involved down there with this group in Jerusalem. So that the thing is, it gives people like to see what do people always ask? Who's your teacher? Where'd you hear it from? What's this? What's that? Well, there'll be a chain. Like, I don't know if Chaim Goldberg started teaching something, I think earlier today or whatever, your time, called Pirkei Avot, or Sayings of the Fathers. If you look in any Jewish prayer book, right after the evening prayers, there's usually a section called Pirkei Avot, or Sayings of the Fathers. And it gives the whole how we got the word from Mount Sinai to us today, who was responsible for it, who the teachers were, what some of the sages said about it. And it's a very interesting read. It's a very interesting read. So, having said that so far right now, does anybody have anything they want to say or any questions they want to ask right now about anything I've talked about?
I want to say, you know, up until recently, I haven't been a very happy person inside. And I got reviewing, why is that? And let my mind work on it for a while. And it dawned on me, I'm letting all these things in the past weigh on me. I said, let it go. As soon as you let it go, boom, you're happy. So don't let your past hold you down.
Good advice, Richard. You know, that you can't go forward if you're stumbling backwards. That's the way I look at it. If you're constantly bringing up things from the past, they're gone. It's over with. There's nothing you can do about it. By the way, those of you who don't know, Richard Sunday had breakfast with some Noahides in LA, I guess it was. And he took his laptop, and I got to talk to him for a few minutes. It was really cool. And that young couple, I can't remember their names, but they friended me on Facebook, and I'm sure we're going to be in contact more. And I used to do meetings like this all the time. Anybody could call me up and just put me on their TV screen, or when we were using Skype. If you want to use Zoom, thanks to Terry, we have a Tour for the Nation Zoom room. And I can just send you a link and we can meet up with people, even if you just want to have a private talk, or you want to have, let's say some family members or close friends have questions about what's going on and everything. Just please get a hold of me. Get a hold of me. And we're going to do it.
Rabbi, as a reminder, those two are Joel and Elizabeth Drucker. And the older couple is Ken Swarm and his wife, Linda, a personal friend of mine from up in Northern California.
Yeah, and it was hopefully Ken will get a hold of me, or you can get with him and get a hold of me, and we can talk some more. Veronica, what's the name of the group? Which group are you talking about, Veronica? I'm sorry, I just saw that.
Sorry, the one that you were talking about, some Israel group that's trying to put together a bunch of Noahides or something? At the
Oh,
very beginning, you were talking about them.
yeah, it's not just a group. They're rabbis that they've been teaching people the 7 universal laws for years, and they have a standard, more or less standardized, and they know most questions are going to be asked. And they put together a crew of people in different languages that are teaching people around the world. The name of the people I have not yet publicized because I haven't got all the official paperwork and everything. But it's going to be really an exciting trip for all of us. Believe me, anybody that wants to come along it's going to be exciting. We'll have as I was telling people before we started the meeting, they're coming out with everybody has, I guess, the Divine Code, which is a great volume 3, which is great, but it's an information book that you can go to look things up and all. But this is a little different. This is a more simple, direct. Here's your 7 laws. Here's what's the basics of what you need to do, and then it goes into the other stuff if you even want to go any further, because you don't have to. Just like the Jews, not everybody even studies the 613. They know what they are and everything, and they know what Shabbat, they keep Shabbat and all that. They don't go into the little nitty gritty stuff that sometimes bothers people's heads about it. But the point is, they're well known with rabbis that are really vetted, good rabbis. Their recommendations from higher up rabbis even. So the name of the group and the name of everything will be made public in the next couple of weeks. We will be hooking up with them, and it's going to be an exciting journey for everybody. It's not a group of people it's not a group of people who want to control anybody. You just want to pass information. All they want to do is pass the information to people to use. Now, one of the things, and I hadn't thought of this, or I had thought of it but didn't make a big deal about it, but they said they tell everybody if you're going to be a Noahide, when you walk into a Jewish home, you know you're in a Jewish home. There's certain things you see in the home that tells them they're Jewish. The Hanukkah menorah, the mezuzah on the door, usually a pushka, a charity box, sitting somewhere in plain sight so people can put some money in. They have copies of the Tanakh. You'll never go in a Jewish home and see New Testament, Old Testament, all that kind of stuff. Nothing. You see the Tanakh, the 5 books of Moses, the books of the prophets. And they, by the way, recommend Art Scroll and the Chabad Online. They're not Chabad, by the way, but they recognize the best translations they've found. They really like the Art Scroll, Chumash, and the Chabad Online. When you're looking to quote something, that's the place to go. But they said you should have in your house an Art Scroll, Chumash. You should have. Oh, by the way, they also talk about. Many Noahides want to put up the mezuzah on the door like the Jews do, and they said that's great, it's a good idea, but what they're working to design some mezuzahs, but you make your own, you can do what you want, you can make them out of ceramics, you can make them out of anything. But they said there should be the number 7 on there. So people know that you're part of Israel, and you're walking the 7 Noahide laws. And somebody says, hey, what is this thing with the 7 on it? Oh, what an opening to tell somebody. Or somebody says, well, I didn't know you were Jewish. Lots of people know it's a symbol of a Jewish home. You can always say, no, I'm not Jewish. I'm part of the righteous among the nations, the Noahides. See, it has a little 7 on there. I follow the 7 universal laws that God gave to everybody. What an opening to talk to people with. So, one other thing. There should be a picture of either the wall in Jerusalem or Jerusalem itself. And if you can get it without the golden dome in the middle, I'll get to it in a second, Thomas. I'll let you try. Is there a golden dome in there? Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to cover that up.
Yeah,
Somebody gave that to me, and I just realized it had it on it.
but my personal preference is I won't put up a picture. Even when I go up there and take pictures, I won't put the Golden Dome in the picture. But you should have a picture of the wall or of Jerusalem itself in your home so people can see you're connected. These things speak to people when they come into your house. They may not realize it at first, but it's like subconscious. Thomas, you want to say something?
You were talking about that mezuzah. Does the same thing go inside of it, though?
I would.
When we're talking about mezuzahs, I won one in a contest. This guy hand mixed them, and I didn't want to put it on my door because this is a Jewish thing, had the Jewish paperwork inside. So I found a local Chabad, a poor shul who had a new shul building, was in need of one. So I gifted this beautiful thing to them. They love it.
Very good. Well, to answer your question, Thomas, I'm not quite sure, but we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, and then I forgot to ask the rabbi in Jerusalem what his opinion is on it. But I'm pretty much thinking that the very first paragraph of the Shema prayer, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be upon your heart, and you shall teach them diligently to your children. You should teach them as you walk along the way, as you sit down, as you rise up. Now, the next part is a little bit, I don't know if it should be in there or not. They shall be as a sign upon your hand and a frontlet between your eyes. I didn't wear tefillin as a Jew most of my life. I mean, I do now. I've come back to the way I'm supposed to. But the thing is that I used to say my hands, the sign of my hands helping God are the work I do with people and helping people. And the frontlet between my eyes was I've always keep myself focused on who God is. And without those of you who don't know my whole story, the point is, since the mid-70s, even though I wasn't following the Jewish the kashrut laws and the Shabbat, Shomer Shabbat and all that, I had a very deep, deep trust in God. An experienced time in my life where I've trusted God for about 40 years now. This trust has always been with me. And I think that's what finally brought me back around to everything and understanding that how I have to be who I'm supposed to be, just like everybody's supposed to be who they're supposed to be. And that's why I'm an Orthodox Jew now. It wasn't because I decided one day I'm going to be some pious guy. It was because of my trust. And through trust, you learn to love someone. When you trust someone, eventually you're in love with that person, even a close friend. I know it sounds weird, but guys, when you trust somebody, another guy, very much, and if you run in the service together with somebody and you trust them, there's a love that develops. It's like the love between Jonathan and David, where you trust the person so much that it turns into a love. Now, I'm not talking about a love like a homosexual love or something like that. It's just a very deep, strong feeling. It doesn't replace love of a woman or anything else. So it's, and when you trust God, you put yourself in his hands and you just go forward with God, then the eventually you're going to end up having a deep love of him, and that will also turn to awe, which is the fear of God. And that's what makes a person complete. Solomon said it. do what he tells you to do and fear him. And that makes you complete. There's nothing else that makes a person complete. All the money in the bank does it, and all the fancy cars does it, and all that kind of stuff. So it can happen, and it happens. Believe me, it happens. And I'm looking at faces of people I see here that I know that it happened to them because you dumped the other stuff that was holding you back, and you went forward. And that can only be done with love of God. Go ahead, Terry.
For those who are not sure what Peasach is talking about, and talking about linking up with this particular group in Jerusalem and how they're tied to some very important rabbis in Jerusalem. You know, let me, as a Noahide talking to a Noahide, what this means is like when you're studying for conversion, and I was with a lot of the different rabbis that I was. A rabbi has a rabbi, and I mean, no one's out there on their own and are to make decisions on their own as well. Like if you have a question about a particular thing, my rabbi's wife that taught me Hebrew, she was born and raised in Jerusalem, and her rabbi was in Jerusalem. She was in her 70s. She was 70, and she had a question about a tomato, a kosher question about a tomato. To me, I thought, you know, rationally, what can a 70-year-old person who does everything from scratch have a question about a tomato? She picked up the phone and called Jerusalem and got her rabbi and asked that question before she made a decision. And what Peasach is saying was like perky a vote. If those who are not familiar, in the first chapter, if you give me just a second here, Moses received the Torah on Sinai and handed it down to Joshua. Joshua to the elders, and then the elders to the prophets, and the prophets handed it down to the men of the great assembly. And they said three things: be deliberate in judgment, raise up many disciples, make fences around the Torah. Simeon the just was one of the last survivors of the great assembly. On down in verse 3, it says, Antigus of Soko received the tradition from Simeon the just. It goes on down, Jose, the son of Yotzer of Zereba, and Jose, the son of Yochanan of Jerusalem, received the tradition from the preceding. And Perkio vote goes on down a line of receiving the tradition, the Masorah, the heritage, the tradition of the Torah. And there's a line that is built that's saying, okay, I didn't just come up with this myself. I received it from my teacher, so-and-so, and my teacher received it from so-and-so. And it gives the Masorah that you're taught a credibility. And then like we're talking about here, as Torah for the Nations joins up, we're still going to be Torah for the Nations to the best of my knowledge. We're not changing any of that. We're linking arms with these people who have ties to the chief rabbi of Israel of Ashkenaz, the chief rabbi of Israel, Sephard, and what I understand, what Peasach tells goes all the way up to Bibi, the prime minister.
You're right, Terry. That's exactly right.
And so this is important. This is not just a Noahide group that's looking for money. This will give Torah for the Nations a strong foundation as people come to the Noahide laws, that we're linking with people that are even further educated than we are in the Noahide laws and has clout, Torah clout. They're just not just any ordinary Joe out there. And so I hope I made sense in that. Studying for conversion, you kind of learn the importance of the line of transmission of Torah. And it's very important in Torah lifestyle, is the line of transmission. And what we're saying is that we are going to be linked with the group, with our line of transmission of the Torah for the Noahides will be tied to the chief rabbis of Israel themselves, to my best
That's
understanding.
important. Terry, you explained it beautifully. It is so that, let me just finish, Richard, and you can have the mic. That you know, you see people buy T-shirts that says "I stand with Israel" or "I am Israel." Well, it's real easy to spend $10 and put a T-shirt on that says "I'm Israel," but does Israel know you're Israel?
Mhm.
What's going to happen with you folks? You can say you're Israel, and you are Israel. You've become a part of Israel. You're recognized by the nation Israel that you are Israel. You're recognized that you're righteous among the nations, and this is so important. And it's in this transmission that we talk about that goes directly back to Mount Sinai. Isn't a couple of rabbis, unfortunately, some of them have done it, that put out some books and say, we don't care what the sages say, this is what we've come up with, and others say, well, yeah, but our opinion is this. You don't get, like, Thomas asked me a question about what goes inside what words to put inside the mezuzah. And I told you what I think, but I'm going to double check it just to make sure, because I'm not the authority on this. The higher up rabbis are the authorities on this. And essentially God is in charge, but these guys study enough and get into the deep enough and have a different, they have the minds, you know, we call them in school, the bookworm, the guy that's always reading and always studying. I never wanted to be that, but if I wanted information, who did I go to? You know, I went to the guy that was studying all the time, because I didn't want to stumble over my own opinion. And believe me, I've done it in my life. Anyway.
Thomas had something he wanted to say.
Yeah, well, Richard, I think, wants to say something first, and we'll get Thomas on. Go ahead, Richard.
What I was going to say is I hope that the group includes representation from Rabbi Yoel Swartz, who has long been a Peasach for Noahide laws. I would hope he'd be involved.
I don't know all the rabbis that are involved in it. I know that just like when you read Pirkei Avot that says how things were handed down, I know how I'm going back up the ladder to the highest rabbis we can hook up to and get certified by them. So you guys know that when you learn from Torah for the Nations, when you learn from us and from the teachers that we're going to have people appointed as teachers, and they'll be vetted, of course. But you'll know that the chain is, you're not getting somebody's opinion about something. I know when I was teaching Christian home groups, how I would teach something and the head of the home group would say, well, that's not what I think, so we think something different. It was, I don't think this, so all of a sudden the home group doesn't think that. You're not going to find that. You're going to find a direct, straight chain of teaching and good things going up. You know, Shira does her little weekly hour, whatever it is, giving over information and how the women can use it in their lives and all. She sits there for 20 minutes or 30 minutes, but on Saturday night, when she finishes the program, she's always working on the next program, and she listens to rabbi after rabbi after rabbi. She brings me information she gets. We go look it up so that she knows that what she's giving across is the right thing that she's giving across. Doesn't end up being her opinion or anything. This is the way we're going to do things, and we're going to have people designated as teachers. And if people want to become teachers, we're going to show them what they need to transmit to people. Of course, you do it in your own words. But look, there's one thing I know, and anybody that belongs to Alcoholics Anonymous or belongs to Al-Anon or to someone that's had drugs, been in drugs or something, when a social worker comes in to talk to them, somebody's learned out of books, they're not really interested. Yeah, okay, it's nice. They want to hear from people that have been there and done that. And been there, done that. That's the thing that people want to hear. So someone is coming out of these other religions, then they're going to be people that have walked the same road teaching them. And I'd rather listen to somebody who's been there, done that, than some guy sitting up there preaching, this is what you're supposed to do. And he's never, doesn't have any clue the road I walked. So that's why we need people that want to teach, that want to help other people. And what I want to do, and what we're trying to do, is that people can collect a few people together, and I can meet with them like I did with Richard's folks. I mean, unfortunately, it was a bad internet connection in the lunch place or breakfast place. But we had those few minutes to connect, and there was a connection, and it was really good. So, you know, if you do it on your iPad or you do it on, I have the Zoom room that we can hook up to. We can do it over Facebook Messenger. We can do it in many different ways, just for people to get what Chrissy said. I think this will be a great foundation for Noahides worldwide. It's going to separate fact from the heresy, and that's exactly right. And the group we're getting into has been doing this already for quite a few years. They're not too big in the USA right now. They have groups in India and Eastern Europe and in Africa. And I forget, they do it in 6 or 7 languages. They do their teachings. So it's really good. And this is not some little, you know, group that just says, okay, and I'm saying, well, okay, I like what they're talking about. No, it follows a chain. And you guys take the Noahide, it's like an oath before God. It's not to man, it's to God you take. Then that is, you know, and you can feel comfortable that that's who you are. Now, let me just, I got to remember where I put this. My computer has so many things. I was going to read you just a little part of it. Maybe it's here. This is the actual declaration that would ask for you to say. And here's what it is. I pledge my allegiance to Hashem, God of Israel, creator and king of the universe, and to his Torah. I hereby pledge that I adhere to the 7 laws of Noah, and I furthermore pledge to continue to uphold these laws in all their details according to the oral law of Moses under the guidance of the rabbis. Blessed are you, God, King of the universe, who has caused me to live, sustained me, and brought me to this day. And that's essentially what you're doing. It's not a pledge to a group. It's not a pledge to a person. It's a vow you're taking before God. And we're going to have you'll be doing it in the presence of what it's going to be. I can't yet do it. It's copyrighted. Everything that's done is copyrighted. And by the way, the things we used, I don't know if you guys know who Chaim Richman is. He's been working with Noahides forever. He's head of one of the directors of the Temple Institute. He's the one that set up all these things, of course, in conjunction with other rabbis. Nobody's asking you to swear, to promise, to do anything others between you and God. Between you and God. It has nothing to do with religion. It's a way of life. It has nothing to do with religion. It's reality. This is the way it is. And you guys realize that. And it's a straight, it's not, you're not pledging allegiance to me or to any group or anything like that. It's your direct connection with Hashem, with the God of Israel. And it's a relationship with each other and with Hashem. Yeah, that's good. It's a relationship for us together, showing that the children of Israel, Bnei Israel, the children of Jacob, the Jews, and you guys, we're all equal under, and we're all one under God, not under anything else. And this is so important. And you just need to know where to get your information. It's going to be so. Somebody put in here about it's a way of life for the righteous and the nations. But there's something else I don't want to. I don't want to feel like being a Noahide is a religion or a sect. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And this, there's an excitement about this. Think about it. A direct you, and we show you, here's how you make the connection with God of Israel. And when you do that, you're part of Israel. Now, I know there's this thing about called Ger Toshav. Any righteous of the nations, at one point, is going to be allowed to live in Israel and be part of Israel. But right now, God has not allowed that to happen. I hear people complain about the Israeli government, and we're trying to keep people out and all this kind of stuff. Believe me, if God wanted the whole world to live in Israel, he'd open the doors. What he's going to do during the time of the Messiah is the whole world becomes Israel. It's it. And we go into the next level of life, you all are going to be citizens of Israel, part of Israel, and the only people are going to be there are those kind of people. Now, what happens to the other people, I don't know, but I know they don't go to hell. That I know for sure. So there's an excitement here, folks. It's not just an intellectual thing. It's something that comes from the heart. And we have to understand that the heart is where our emotions are. And when that kind of excitement of being connected directly to the God of Israel, to your creator, comes up from the heart to the brain says, yep, you got it. The brain is kind of cold and calculating, but there's two sides to it. We all know that. It's the God side and the other side. So if somebody says, well, I don't want to be connected to God of Israel, I don't like the Jews, or I don't like this, or I don't like, well, okay, well, that's your decision. But this is the beginning of the end of this era, this 6,000 years on earth. Now, we ain't going anywhere. The Jews don't think we're going to be flying up to heaven or doing anything else. The earth itself is going to change. And the connection that God has with earth through Mount Moriah, where Jacob's ladder was, and where the Akedah took place, the sacrifice of Isaac, and other things. Jacob slept there one night. That's where the essence of God flows down into the earth and spreads out across all the earth. This very special essence. What is this whole Messianic era? What are we working for? Right now, God has had to cover himself over with this like shell. He's like hidden from us, because if we see him, then we don't see each other. We have to gradually work up in our relationship with him so that things become more revealed and more revealed. The greatest example is Moses meeting God up on Mount Sinai. By the way, Mount Sinai is not one of our holy places, by the way, just so you know. It was just a place God chose to meet at the desert. What happened when Moses came back from all those times up in being with God? The light of God had been revealed to him so much, it actually shone out of him. And the Jewish people said, well, things are too bright. Cover your face so we can see you, not the bright light. The bright light was the essence of God shining out through him. And so he had to cover over the light so we could see him. Well, this is exactly what's going on right now in this world. We call them dressings or curtains. The Hebrew word is klippah, or shell. It hides the light. It didn't go anywhere. It's just hidden with other stuff. And as we peel back the layers, more of the light comes through until we're at a level we can understand it and understand what's going on. We'll lose our direction. Excuse me. I gotta get me a drink. Be right back. Terry, somebody else wants to say something. Go right ahead.
I'll add that we all can develop a personal relationship with Hashem. I've been enjoying it for a while now. And we are not a religion, it's a relationship.
Yeah, this what he's talking about is not turning us into a religion or anything like that. It connects us to an existing chain that's been there since Moses. And we are being permitted as the righteous of the nations to join in that chain. It's really, it's excited me because, as a Jew, if you convert and become a Jew, you become part of that, and we chose, not to convert, but to be who God made us. And this opens up a door in a way almost like it's not really existed a whole lot before, is to be able to be a part of that chain without being a Jew, and allowing Israel to teach us our laws straight from that chain. And I'm excited to learn even further than what I've learned from these guys, because like all of you, I've grabbed everything I could grab a hold of. You can see I've got a bookshelf, variety Noahide books, Jewish books, and just trying to learn everything that I could on my own. Now this is going to give me some direction to areas I didn't have advantage for in the past. I didn't have the advantage of learning from these kind of guys before. I wasn't connected, and this brings us into a connection point that, to me, for me at least, has never existed unless I converted. And to me, that's exciting.
That's Terry. Yes, it is exciting. But as I went to get my drink of water and came back, a thought came into my mind. I'm looking at everyone here in this room tonight. Do you know what's happened to you guys? That this very veil, this klippah, these things that I was talking about, that was hiding the light of God, each one of you has parted it in some way so you can get a little closer, and parted it again, and you become a little closer, and parted it some more, and more of the God's light shining directly on you. This is what's happened to you. You're on the way to have the total connection with Hashem. And let me tell you something. The minute you open the first part of the shell, or the first part of the first curtain, and that light comes out on you, God says to you, welcome, righteous of the nations. Just the first little baby step. And if you can talk yourself out of it if you want, or you can go forward, or you can go off on a sidetrack. It's just up to you as an individual. But if you continually want more of his light on you in a permanent basis, then you just keep going forward, and you do it in the way that he has prescribed. I love it says in Deuteronomy, it says, God says, you don't have to come up to heaven and get the word and bring it back down. You don't have to go across the seas and look for it. It's as close as your mouth and your heart. It's already there. You just have to be able to push away the things that aren't needed, the hubris, the stuff that's hiding it. And you guys have done that in a conscious or unconscious way. Those of you that had been religious leaders for years and helped other people and brought them at least into that part of the light. I'm going to throw something at you here. We look at Christianity, we look at Islam, and we talk about how bad they are. But without them, especially with you guys I'm talking to, you wouldn't be sitting here with me today if there wasn't Christianity. It got you part of the way. You took yourself the rest of the way. So was it bad? Was it bad that you were a teacher and was teaching other people these things? No. It helped you get to where you are today. How did it help you? By you realize, well, wait a minute, this isn't quite right, and this isn't quite right. It smells pretty good, but it's not quite exactly right yet. And you kept moving forward. It might have happened in degrees. It might have been an epiphany, one of those aha moments. But so the every part of your life, every minute of your life brought you to this minute right now here. So how could you call any of it bad? Here you are. You have a direct relationship with the God of Israel, the creator of the world, your father. So it's all good. And when you see somebody that won't listen, and you see somebody that's stubborn, you see somebody that says, oh, you're going to hell, and have to be patient with them. Be patient. Don't get upset at them. Just understand that you were there one time. And they will eventually, they're just not yet where you are. So that helps in a way keep things kind of more positive in your thinking, instead of looking back and going, I should have never done that. No. If you changed any little thing that's happened in your life up to this moment, you wouldn't be where you are today. Period. You'd be on some other timeline, like it's science fiction or something. You just wouldn't be there. So it's okay for that to be, forgive yourself. Don't beat yourself up over it. God's got you here. He's done beating you up over it. He's forgiven you. Just go forward. And it's so important to understand that every time. Sometimes I get some Messianics love to come to Sfat and mess with people's heads here in Sfat, because we're a religious community, and they think that they're coming to make us completed Jews by teaching us about what they think. And some people get very angry about it here in Sfat, and especially, who gets the angriest? 3 guesses, the converts. They get the angriest about it. And usually when a Messianic hits town, they'll call me up and say, is this person Messianic? What's going on? And I'm kind of like the go-to guy for that kind of thing. But it's very hard for me to get them to understand that that person was them 10 years ago or 15 years ago or 20 years ago. So that person is walking through in the discovery phase. A lot of people today, before they hit the truth, where are they? They're in this Messianic Judaism stuff, which really isn't Judaism, but they call it Messianic Judaism. A lot of people are coming out of that into understanding what a Noahide is. And thank God, a lot of the Jews that got involved with it are turning around and coming back home. So it's pretty cool. Anyway, anybody else have anything they want to say? Thomas or Scotty, Richard, Angela, Terry, Veronica, Martha, and Jennifer?
Yeah, Thomas had something.
I just wanted to say thanks for explaining it the way you did, Terry. 'Cause, you know, I don't even want to look at new sites because it's just right out scary. I mean, I came across a couple by accident and, you know, asking for money and all that stuff. And it's just a shame there's a lot of people out there like that. But, and like what you were talking about earlier, Peasach, about the ego and that,
Yeah.
that's still something I got to work on. I mean, I was kind of raised redneck in a northern state until I was 9, and then got thrown in the streets of a big city. And I mean, up till 15 years ago, you know, I hung out with bikers and everything else. I would pimp slap somebody before I talked to them. And the last 5 years, I've really changed, and everybody has noticed it, especially the last year and a half since I found out about Noahide. I mean, well, now I got people that don't want to talk to me, but that's okay. They're not good for me anyways. But it's just like I had a hard time explaining to my sister why I'm not coming over for her Christmas dinner. She just don't understand it, and I try to explain it to her, and then I get frustrated, and I was like, wait a minute, give me a minute to calm down.
Let me tell you something about that Christmas dinner.
Yeah.
If they're not worshiping an idol at that Christmas dinner, don't injure a family relationship.
Oh, I'm not ending it. She just knows. Well, mine and her relationship's a whole nother story.
Oh, okay, all right. I won't get into that, but I'm just saying.
I went there for Thanksgiving, and just seeing crosses on the wall was bad enough.
Well, yeah, I kind of don't like seeing them either. You're right.
You know,
Thomas, I understand your past lifestyle perfectly well, and my suggestion is go to her supper, and if anybody mentions you know who, walk out.
Don't do anything that's gonna, you know, try to do it as gently as possible. You don't want to injure your family relations. Don't forget, they're you in an earlier part of your life.
Well, she's kind of understanding because I'm going out for Chinese food that day. So, and but my mom is bringing me back a plate because she's making Swedish meatballs, and I gotta have them.
Oh, I love Swedish meatballs.
Yep. And some kind of I don't know. She thinks she is a pretty good cook, but some stuff she overdoes it. But it's just like the other day, or a week ago, I made a mistake. I should have listened to Chrissy's one video a little more. I ended up putting a little fuel on the fire about people telling that people that know what I believe and still putting this stuff in my face. But, you know, I took it down. I realized, you know, that's their problem, not mine.
Can I throw in an interesting story that happened? I always got these interesting stories.
Sure, that'll be $5.
Okay. I'm going to put it, let's see, I'm going to slip it in the little slot here on the side. About 6 months ago, I had I'm still involved. I have a lot of pastoral friends and stuff, and we go out to eat lunch, and we have just real calm talk about text and everything. But I had this one evangelist that I've known for years. When he gets around me, he just gets real upset, and I just try to keep him calm and talk to him. Some of you know some of those people, and they just go out of their way to see what they can say to try to affect me. Well, yesterday, my phone rings. I'm at work, my phone rings, and it's him. And he's at the hospital, and he's having chest pains, and he's short of breath, and he's scared. And who did he call for prayer? He called me. And so I ran out, and I got I carry a prayer book and an art scroll in my truck, and I just started reading him some Psalms. I said, I just want to read you this. You take deep breaths, calm down. Everything's going to be fine. So he calls me back today, And I said, how you doing? He said, I'm good. I'm at home. And it was like he was wanting to really tell me something. And I was just giving him the opportunity. And then all of a sudden he says, you won't tell anybody I called you for prayer, would you? I said, no, your secret is safe with me. So that sort of broke the ice there. You know, he sort of calmed down about it. But I thought it was funny. He said, you won't tell anybody that I've called you for prayer, would you? So,
Oh, that's good. You know what? He already knows pretty much you got the truth with you. So that's a great thing. That's a great thing to happen. I love it. I love it. Now, just a quick reminder, you owe me a little write-up there, Scotty, right?
yes.
Okay, just so you remember. Anybody who wants to do a little write-up on their journey or anything, on Tour for the Nation's website, we have a place you can post it where people can read it, and it may affect somebody. So don't try to keep it all secret. And if you don't mind, you can give us a little picture of yourself. We can put up there with it. We don't put email addresses. You don't put last names. There you go.
I think Angelique had something she wanted to say.
Yes.
Hi, this is the first time in my city, Langley. We are going to have a menorah lighting in the mall. I was like floored. This is the first time. Like, what? And we're going to distribute donuts. I got to know about this because we went to a Hanukkah party through a Chabad thing, and they were talking about doing this. This lady, Donna, she's like, wow, we're going to do this. You got to come. I thought, where? Willowbrook Mall? Are you kidding? No way. So it's going to be exciting on December 29th. They're going to do it.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So yeah, there's other stuff happening too, but this was really an opening. It's an opening because we'll be able to talk to other people too, or they can have, questions. I don't know, whatever. And so it'll be good.
That's awesome, Angelique. I'll tell you a story. I used to live and work in Sacramento, California. And I parked one day in the public area and I had to walk across the Capitol grounds to get to where I was going. And I was there for a few hours. As I'm heading back, I noticed a big Jewish presence there at the Capitol building and a huge menorah. So I stopped to see what was going on. They were lighting a Hanukkah, on the Capitol grounds. And at the time, Schwarzenegger was the governor. So he's this big, tall, heavy-set guy. He comes out, and the rabbis grab his hand. They're all dancing around on the Capitol steps. It was amazing. Wonderful to see.
Hanukkah is a great story, but if you notice, it's not in the Tanakh. It's not in any of our writings, and the actual celebration of the miracle didn't even start till years after it happened. One of the things is we're not allowed to celebrate killing other people. We're not allowed to celebrate war victories. God's not a God of war. So we can celebrate around the miracle of what happened and what he did for us, and we can have a joyous occasion. And fortunately, it happened with oil, so we get to eat all kinds of fried foods during that. The potato latkes, the potato pancakes, and the donuts, and anything fried dough, fried chicken, all fried, everything fried. So the rest of the year, we may not eat fried foods all year because, we don't want to or something. But all our holidays surrounded food by all but two are surrounded by food. And all of them are celebrations of life. Nothing is a celebration of death. No war victories, no nothing. And so much so that God didn't have us, he hasn't included the book of Maccabees inside our learnings. We have the Megillah of Esther, which shows God's miracle over what happened. We were in exile there. So we have the different things, but they're not actually in the Bible. But we cannot celebrate death.
One day was a time when Esther was prominent in the Jewish holidays. And so I looked up her gravesite. And lo and behold, she's buried in Iran, which used to be Shoshan.
Yeah, actually, her and Vashti, they have tombs there, and they're actually celebrated by Iranians as like feminists. The first, the women that stood up for women's rights and things like that. So the Iranians actually celebrate it like that. I don't think they celebrate the Purim, but they're studied as figures of important historical figures in Iran, or Persia is what the country's called actually. So anybody else have anything else they want to talk about or ask questions on? Look, guys, get excited. Get excited. Do I sound like a Pentecostal preacher now?
It gave me shivers.
Yes.
Get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready. I know Scotty knows.
Let's all get ready for the year 6000.
Yeah, look, when you hook up and get the proper teachings, you're ready right now. It doesn't make any difference what happens between now and the next 250 years, but you're ready. So you can relax. There's nothing to worry about. Just help other people get ready. It's not like, oh, I messed up again. Because if it's accidental, it's accidental. That's automatically forgiven. When you say, well, I'm sorry, I didn't know. But when you learn how to walk the road, you'll never, ever leave it unless you say, I'm going to make a left or right turn. When you learn how to walk the road, you just keep walking. If you make a mistake, it's okay with God. And once in a while, if you do something intentionally, as long as you talk to him about it and you don't intentionally do it again, things are fine. I think, I never remember where this is. It might be in the Psalms, or it might be in Proverbs, or it might be someplace else. God makes a statement, a very strong statement. Someone who is righteous their whole life and repents and does evil. This is exactly how it says it in Hebrew. Repents and does evil is evil. Someone that does evil their whole life and at the end repents and does good is good.
Ezekiel 18.
Is that what it is, Ezekiel 18? So it's important that we understand this. It's important we understand this thing when God says, I will punish your sons to the whatever generation it is, 10th generation. They're not punishing for what I do. They're punishing for continuing to walk the way I walked.
Yeah.
And I'm going to throw one last thing here in at the end, because it's connected with that. Honor your parents. So many people tell me, well, I don't even think about it. I'm honoring my parents. I'm doing what they taught me because so I'll be a Catholic, or I'll be a Baptist, or I'll be a Pentecostal, or I'll be whatever. That's what
Jennifer has a question for you.
Okay, I'll get to that in a sec. That's what gets that's what a generational curse is. The kids take it on themselves. The minute one of the kids stops and says, no, I'm not going to do this anymore, and it's not dishonoring your parents to do that. If they're doing something wrong, they're doing something wrong. You can still love them, you can still honor them, but that one thing, it's okay to do that. It's not a sin. It's not going against honoring your parents. Now, I see this question about autism. You know, the great thing about God is he brings himself to every single individual that he created on this planet in a way that they can understand him. We may not understand him the same way one of your children does. I have some friends of mine okay. Yeah, that's a good question. Sometimes we make decisions to put us in debt, and even if it's for a good reason, and you have to go bankrupt. That's what establishing courts are for. If the courts say it's okay for you to do this, it's okay. The system of justice, God says okay. God says this. He says, the heavens belong to me, whatever the heavens are, but the earth belongs to you guys. Establish your courts of justice, establish your laws, and as long as we abide by the laws, you're doing okay. So if the laws say it's okay to bankrupt, then it's okay. Your debt's been wiped out. You don't have to worry about it anymore. You're forgiven. Period. So there's a lot of intricacies about this, but this is why you learn. This is how you learn. We have bankruptcy courts here in Israel. It is okay if you go through it's not like I'm going to take a loan and tell people I'm not going to pay you back. Bye. You still have the money and everything. The courts give you redress if something like this happens, so you never have to worry about this. You can forget about. I'm telling you, you can ask any rabbi; they'll tell you that. The court system, God said, if you have questions about what I'm saying and what I'm teaching and everything, go to the courts and have it decided in court. Now, they say 3 judges, but like in America or some countries, you go through one judge who declares, okay, yes, you fit the description of being bankrupt, all your debts are wiped out. Once that happens, it's done. You can forget about it. Now, I'm not saying people should run out and do it, but because I personally don't believe in that, but sometimes people get in other words, I wouldn't do it myself, and I've been broke, made it and lost it more than once in my life. I was lucky enough that I could always find a way out. I never had to declare bankruptcy, but I see what you're talking about. Hannah, may her memory be blessed, my first wife. We were married for 44 years. She became ill. And here in Israel, we're covered with HMOs and almost everything's covered. We don't pay very much. And we'd come here, and my daughters kept saying, come back to America, come back to America. And I told them I can't do that because I'm going to have to, I'm going to have to end up spending a whole lot of money for your mother's illness. And here in Israel, they covered everything except $50. I paid $50. When she was diagnosed with her illness, than pay another penny. The point I'm saying is that you can get into a problem like this particular problem that you had. And it's okay. You got through the other side. You didn't do anything wrong. And you abided by court's decisions. And God is very specific about his judges when they make a ruling on something. If you don't follow what he said, what the judges say, you are sinning against me, God says. You missed the mark. So, yes, you can sleep at night. You can take that burden off your shoulders and lay it down, put it in a corner, pack it up. Better yet, burn it in the trash can. Go on with your life.
Peasach, could I ask you to cover something?
Sure.
If on Jennifer's behalf here, if that would have happened and she had not any remorse about it, that would be one thing. But because she's got remorse about it, that shows that she is truly seeking Hashem. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did. Now, some people, like business people, go through and have no remorse on it, maybe, other than, well, I failed, or something like that. Mm-hmm. But the average people like us, the remorse is part of, once you've expressed your feeling of, I'm not going to get involved in this again, I'm not going to do this again, I'm sorry I did it, you're done. That's exactly right. The remorse is what does it. I like what you put in there, Terry. Torah truly restores the soul, and it is true. And it can lift a lot of burdens off your heart and your mind, folks. A lot of burdens. And God wants you to enjoy life. That's what we're here for. To enjoy life. No. Let's see. I didn't blame her.
Oh, I gotta go, y'all. So I wish you all the best. Take care.
Okay.
Bye-bye, Tom.
God bless. Veronica asked a question here. One of the things that hurts us the most, I think, is what parents say to us. And my father used to say something to me that hurt me very much, and hurt me almost my whole life, years after he died. And when I really started thinking about it, and I came up, I learned something, that my father was doing the best job he could do with what he knew. And some of the words he spoke to me, he spoke to me only because this is what he knew. So sometimes our parents speak to us like, you've heard parents, I'm sure, tell people, tell the kids, you're not never going to be any good, or this or that or the other thing. Two things are happening here. First of all, they don't know any better, but they say those words because they probably got them from their parents. And so in the same situation, they're just repeating what they learned. And they really are doing it to help, not to hurt. You're going to be a loser. You're not going to, you got a C on your report card. What are you, dummy? That kind of stuff. It's only because people don't know. This is how they grew up. This is what they learned. There's no books on parenting. I mean, there are, but there's no, everything's different. Each individual person is different. And we're all a product of our learning, what we learned from our parents. Sometimes I hear myself saying things to my kids, my daughters, that my father or mother said to me. I said, I became my father, What you need to do is forgive the person that said what they said. They only said it from what they had learned. They didn't all of a sudden sit down and come up with this negative thing that they said out of their head. They've had to have learned it somewhere, which means they learned it from their parents. Maybe they went through had bad parenting, but they don't know any other way to change it. And so if you want to talk about it in a private thing, we get together on Facebook Messenger. I'll be more than happy to talk to you about it. I don't want to go into details on a public forum. Forgive your parents for what they do. Forgive them for what they say. It took me 20 years to forgive my father. And I always held it against him. And I wish I could talk to him one more time. But the point is, that's what honoring your parents has to do with. Understanding them, knowing them. But it's also, you can learn how to parent better. You can learn how to have a better relationship with God, and because you go to do it doesn't mean you're dishonoring your parents. It's a cop-out.
Mm-hmm.
So Veronica, like I said, if you want to get a hold of me on Facebook, I'll be more than happy to, on Messenger.
Rabbi, I like to go, my parents are deceased, but I still like to go visit with them in the cemetery. Go see my dad, my mom, my grandma, my aunt and uncle. So I hope there's no problem with doing that. I very much miss them, so I like to go see them.
You know what, Richard? A lot of people do it. They do it here also. Everybody does that. But the one thing you got to keep in mind is you don't have to go to the cemetery to visit them. That they're with you all the time. They're a part of you. They're a part of who you are. So they're with you all the time. And I know it's tough when you want to go ask them advice or have a chat with them or express love to them or apologize for something maybe you did when you were younger or something. We all go through all that stuff. But they're a part of who you are, and they're alive in you. And you can go to the cemetery and talk, and a lot of people do it. We're not supposed to summon up the dead, God says. But you know what? My father's come to me in dreams. My mother's come to me in dreams. That's not a sin. If they come to you, it's something different. If you want to express your love by going there, that's fine. But sometimes you're so far away from where things are that you can't get there. Like my parents were buried outside in Virginia. And so it's a long way away, but I think about them every day, so they're still with me. What's buried under there is their what David calls worm food, or bodies, but the essence of who they are with you. Right now, they're with you.
Yeah, I go out there and then, in the old days, it was a mixed community, but not as much so as it is now. It's almost 99% Mexican. And the Mexicans have a way of going out and spending the afternoon or all day with their relatives in the grave. And they have conversations and put beautiful flowers. It really brightens up the cemetery. So I like what they've done.
Well, that's good. That's good. Anybody else have anything they want to? Did I miss anything else out of the chat room?
Don't forget Veronica.
Yeah, no, Veronica, you and I will talk about this in a private thing. Bye, whoever has to go. Bye bye. See you later.